I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Yeah, here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop, ladies and gentlemen. Kiddos, it is your daily sports podcast. We try to wow you every single day with interesting and relevant content, and we fail daily. But we try, and here's the deal. It's A for effort is what we try to do here on a daily basis. All right, coming up on the show today, Johnny Canes will join us here in a few minutes, as he always does. We'll get the very latest with John. Lots going on, really, kind of in the college landscape right now. Obviously, got the firing of Wayne Tinkle. What does that mean for Oregon State? They're looking for another basketball coach. They just replaced the football coach. The finances there, really, for them to go out and get a high profile coach. Also, what about the team that's in Eugene? Dana Altman. They have had a terrible season. Dana Altman, 67 years of age. Is it time for Dana Altman to step down? How attractive is that job? And then we'll get to the situation with the Cougs and David Riley, and also Danny Sprinkle. I don't think Washington's going to do anything with Danny Sprinkle. I think the buyout's probably too much money for them to stomach to get rid of him. But again, I think at least it's a conversation that I think maybe University of Washington will have. We'll also get into the changing landscape of college football, just in terms of how much these schools, these ADs, these presidents want some government type of oversight at all on what's happening there in college athletics. And then coming up later in the show, we're going to talk to Danny Kelly post-combine there for Danny Kelly. Been out there boozing left and right nonstop, and Danny's going to join us again this week to talk a little combine. As you know, there is no rest there in the National Football League. So we'll talk to Danny coming up a little bit later in the show. We'll get to Ryan Sloan. Had a great conversation yesterday. In case you missed it, go back and listen to the pod or watch it on YouTube. But Adam Jude of Seattle Times was on yesterday. The better looking reporter for the Seattle Times covering the Mariners is Adam Jude. And, the gist of the interview was about his catching the bullpen there with Andres Munoz. We did get into Ryan Sloan, though, and boy, he had some high praise for Ryan Sloan, man. He had some high praise. We'll play that soundbite coming up a little bit later in the program. So we'll talk to Danny Kelly. Of course, we wrap up every single show there with Hey, What the Puck, and on this day there as well, on a jam-packed Tuesday extravaganza. We always come via the Limback Lumber Studios. Limback Lumber is your one-stop shop for all lumber needs, local. They've been doing it since 1930, so they know what they're doing there at Limback Lumber. Contractors, they're going to offer free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. They've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. They've got old school service because, as I said before, they've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call. Tell them I sent you. 206-782-3487, or you can visit their website. They're at limbacklumber.com. You can visit me in social media, all the platforms, Puck Sports, everywhere except for TikTok. It's Puck_sports. Please go visit pucksports.com. There, you'll find all our content up there. Plus, on the top of the webpage, you can see where you can sign up to become a Pucks Posse member. If you're not, you've got great benefits with it. You get bonus shows every single week. In addition, you're supporting what we're doing here daily. We give you bonus shows like the Sports Pit comes out later today with Matt Stretch Johnson. Coming up tomorrow, it's another edition of Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish. And then Thursdays, it's KJ Arntz with one Mitch Levy. All right, it is about 3 hours away from the tag deadline in the National Football League transition tag, all the franchise tag. They are not going to use their tag on Ken Walker. Talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Adam Schefter coming out, about 30 minutes ago, and giving that news that they do not plan on using it. So he will become a unrestricted free agent next week. And so we'll find out or is it next Monday? He will find out where they're at and whether or not that they can bring Ken Walker back. And what's the market going to be for Ken Walker? We'll get on a little bit of that later with Danny Kelly. But how much money are they willing to spend on a running back? And how many suitors are Ken Walker going to have? Obviously he's going to have the lore of being a Super Bowl MVP. There's always some shine on that for sure. And he's a terrific running back. Now, again, he's had some issues of always being consistent and being healthy and all of those things. But at the same time, he's a terrific running back. He's a damn good running back. And that's, honestly, some people say, hey, it's just easy to find these guys all the time and they're easily replaceable. It's something that Rob and I, not on this week's show, but a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the 49ers, push to always find a running back, that it was all this plug and play. And it took them a while until they finally found Christian McCaffrey. Not saying that Ken Walker's not Christian McCaffrey, but when you do find the guy that fits your system and is a good back, it's hard to say goodbye. Now, again, does he have some deficiencies? Does he dance too much? Does he go east-west and not north-south? Yeah, there's some things that Ken Walker can improve on. They know him better than we do. And if they're not willing to, push it to a certain level that they don't feel comfortable, whether that number is kind of where the tag is at 14 million, then they won't. They bring him back. I guess the other side of not bringing him back is who you going to put in there? Montgomery has been traded to Houston, so he's off the table. You don't have Charbonnet because Charbonnet's done for, I don't know, until when he comes back. I know guys come back from ACL injuries sooner rather than later, but you're going to address this in the draft. Is a rookie going to be the guy that's going to get the bulk of the carries? I like George Holani, but let's be honest, I don't love George Holani. So I think you've got to look at that element in terms of what do you want to spend to bring him back? What's the cost of going out and trying to repeat one more time as Super Bowl champions? There's a cost to that, and are they willing to go and spend that upper market value for someone like Ken Walker? We shall see. But you know what? We shall see right now, because our guy, he's waiting. He's got his head cleanly shaven. He's ready to go. He's chomping at the bit to join us. It's our guy, John Canzano's weekly appearance, brought to you by the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, Flat Stick Pub. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a fine writer, he's a fine entertainer, and he's a fine American, and he's a great husband and great father. It is John Canzano from johncanzano.com. Read all of his work there. Check out the YouTube page, John Canzano, which you can get the latest interview, the exclusive he did with outgoing Oregon State basketball coach Wayne Tinkle. He kind of could be a president. He is very presidential. In a way there. John, how are you, sir? Everything good?
Well. Yeah, I'm doing really well. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Let's jump right into Wayne Tinkle. I don't think the decision caught anyone by surprise. Some probably would argue it was too late, that they should have moved on from Wayne Tinkle. You sat down with him. I listened to it, watched it all, but 30 minutes, an interview or so with him that came out. I watched it yesterday. What struck you in your sit down there with the outgoing head coach?
Well, what struck me was that he said a lot without saying a lot, right? Like in the purpose of him doing that interview, the last thing he wants to do is throw Oregon State under the bus or throw his AD under the bus. But he just talked about the facts. He talked about, getting called in last Thursday. They'd won 6 of 8 games. They'd won 2 in a row. They were coming off an overtime win the night before. And his athletic director basically calls him in and says, hey, I've decided to make a change. Why, with 1 game left in the season, you would do that? Well, the answer is easy. You go back to 2021. Scott Barnes, the AD at Oregon State, wanted to fire Wayne Tinkle in 2021. And what did he do? Went to the Pac-12 tournament and won the damn thing. Then got in the NCAA tournament and got to the Elite 8. Then he had to give him a contract extension. So if you're Scott Barnes, your fear is Tinkle's going to do it again. He's going to go win the WCC tournament or maybe get to the championship game and create a bunch of, hey, wait a minute, maybe this is our coach long term. And so Barnes is, I think, itching to change the conversation. There's a lot of heat on him right now, and I think he's deflecting right now by throwing Tinkle to the mob.
Why is he still the athletic director?
Well, think about what happened at Washington State. Amid the Pac-12 splintering, Pat Chun leaves the AD post for Washington. Jake Dickert runs for Wake Forest. Kyle Smith goes to Stanford. Jimmy Rogers after that leaves. You have University President Kirk Schultz leaves. The turnover at Washington State created a lot of chaos. Oregon State, I think, really wanted, amid that, because it was Oregon State and Washington State, Oregon State needed to be more stable. And so, Jaythi Murthy, the president at Oregon State, she gave Scott Barnes a contract extension. And Barnes used the opening at Washington a little bit, basically to say, hey, I worked at Washington before. I could leave, he and Chun were both kind of rumored to be interested in that job. And so I think, they locked him up. His contract runs through 2030. He's making about $1 million a year through 2030. And so the easy answer is they can't afford to fire him. They valued that continuity amid the breakup of the Pac-12. And Barnes played, let's give him some credit, played an instrumental role in getting the Pac-12 to where it is now. But he probably should step aside right now, give the reins to someone else, and say, hey, look, I'll go into an advisory role. There's a drip to the faucet here with Oregon State and Barnes that's not going to stop. It's the leaky faucet. And I think at some point that always gets you.
How troubling is the financial situation there? You've seen stories, you've written about it, about the salary pool for the football team and for incoming head coach Jamarcus Shepard. The fact that he had to fight so hard to get a GM against the wishes, really, of Scott Barnes, didn't want it. And what really struck me in your interview with Wayne Tinkle, and he said it multiple times, and just glossed over it a little bit, but was his main point of why they're not successful is because they don't have any money. Yeah. They didn't have any money for NIL. He lost. You brought it up. Who's the kid at UCLA? I've seen that. Bilodeau? Yeah,
Bilodeau. He had Bilodeau. He had Jordan Pope. He lost, guys like Persifala. There's a line of players that have gone through there, and it's just been turnover after turnover. And he admitted too, look, they had some horrible seasons. They had a 5-win season. They had a 3-win season. A lot of coaches would have got fired amid that, but Tinkle's contract situation and the pandemic and the turmoil with the conference breaking down, all the focus on football bought him more time. But there's no debating, his revenue share is $2.15 million. That's what they're spending on their roster. And I asked Tinkle, I said, can you confirm that? He did. And I said, what does it take to win? And he said 2.15 is 7th or 8th in the WCC, right? That's not the New World Pac-12. That's the WCC. You're 7th or 8th. He finished 4th. I love the comment he made. He said, that's a pretty good return on your investment, finishing 4th when your revenue sharing is 7th or 8th. He said they needed $4 million to compete in the Pac-12. I'm hearing about Big 12 schools that are spending $8 to $11 million. Think about Gonzaga, too. Gonzaga is getting a full share in the new Pac-12. They don't have a football program. They're going to put all that money into men's basketball. That's what Washington State and Oregon State and the rest of this conference are up against. You've got to spend $4 million to keep your head afloat. Otherwise, you're going to drown.
Well, and then that brings me, I guess, to Washington State. I've just made this comment many times, and I'm just going to stick by it. I just don't think they can afford to bring David Riley back. There is no juice with that program. There is no buzz. The buyout is $1 million. And if they want to play in this new conference and they want to be real serious about athletics, and I think the new president is, they need to move on and find someone to pay that buyout and just find a different leader for that team going to that new conference.
You're right about the energy and the momentum. I do wonder about the dynamic at Washington State because you just had to hire a football coach. That was a scramble. They came through that looking great, right? John Harlow did a great job getting Kirby Moore into that position, hiring Trent Bray as a D coordinator. They just created a lot of momentum and enthusiasm. Now, can you duplicate that in a basketball setting? Or Puck, are you and Washington State fans out there a little spoiled by Tony Bennett, Kyle Smith, watching these guys just coach circles around other coaches who maybe had more resources? And we're watching David Riley, who, doesn't have the resources, but doesn't have also that coaching acumen that those other guys have. And he's blowing leads late. They're losing games. You're right about the flatlining, but I wonder about their ability to pay that $1 million right now while they're so focused on football mattering and try. Would you rather have the $1 million to invest in your roster in football? That's the question.
Yeah, it's just you look at these crowds that are there. There's nothing. I mean, and I don't know. The last time you talked to Harlow, and I'm going to get to his thought or your thoughts on whether or not he's going to be the permanent AD. I think we've talked about it before, but he's in, and maybe we did when this happened. He's sitting in the stands a few weeks ago with students. In fact, he's sitting next to Mikey and Stevie Moore. These are Jim's kids, and having conversation with these guys. And I think taking it in from maybe the student's perspective, and I just think that you look at where they're at right now, and if you want the athletics, and football's the number one, but then basketball's number two, is certainly the window into your university. And right now it's just, there is nothing. It is such an afterthought over there. And it's so weird too, right? We talk about styles and what styles fit at certain schools, and certain schools have this kind of brand that they play with. Football, this is why probably people didn't like Jimmy Rogers. For football, it's always been high-flying offenses. I think that's why so many more people are more excited about Kirby Moore. For basketball, it has been defense. Yeah. Defense. That's what Tony Bennett and Dick Bennett, they were so good at it, and then Kyle Smith carried that over.
What happened with David Riley from year one to year two? Because at the end of year one, he gets a contract extension from Ann McCoy. He gets a vote of confidence. People were going, hey, this might work out well. He's now 31-31. On paper, that's not he's got to go type record, but you're watching that team. What has shifted there? Is it a revenue sharing problem? Are they not getting an investment from a revenue share standpoint? Or is this actually a guy who's not able to coach? He's getting out coached down the stretch because they're blowing leads late. They're just not closing out games.
They don't play defense. They didn't play defense last year. I mean, I know they practice it, and I know he preaches it like every coach does, but there's not a willingness to get into someone's business and play defense. It's just very, offensive centric, and we're going to shoot a lot of threes, but we're not going to play tough defense. And I think it's a mentality, I think, that starts probably with the coaching staff. You got to really be committed to it. And Kyle Smith and Tony Bennett, Dick Bennett, they were just committed to it. Yeah. This is the style we're going to play. And they have their challenges offensively. They would go through droughts, and I don't know. It just doesn't. There's just not a lot of talent on the floor besides Ace Glass, and that's the other thing too. Is they're going to lose him. He's gone. He's going to get $1 million or more someplace else to go play basketball, because he's probably going to be the freshman of the year in the conference.
That's what Wayne Tinkle really talked about. Is he said, look, we had players. They lost their entire starting five. And that's what you become if you can't bring in $4 million, $5 million in revenue sharing. So the other question is with that AD position. You brought it up. Harlow's the interim athletic director. Is this his call? Is it Betsy Cantwell? What else is on her plate? How big of a problem is this for her from the fundraising perspective? Because if it becomes an obstacle to fundraising, now you have to make a change. And remember, when he got hired, we talked about this. Riley didn't get Kyle Smith money, right? So there was a reduction of salary there. So I don't think it's a no-brainer that he's coming back. But I lean towards David Riley getting another year, because I just look at John Harlow and I go, does he have the authority here as the interim athletic director to do this? And they're so hyper-focused on the football fundraising. Unless a donor steps up, unless you get, a donor who is giving you $1 million to say, hey, I need David Riley to go away, I kind of wonder. I think Washington State stays with Riley.
What's the future you think of Dana Altman? Obviously a very disappointing season. He's 67. He's probably talked in the past about winding down. What do you think he's going to decide here coming up after the season?
It's really interesting, because I do see a path here where Altman maybe steps away. And And, I know he wants to get to 800 wins. He's not getting there this year. They've been a little better down the stretch here, which I think is encouraging. But I am looking at some of his staff members, and I think some of his staff members are kind of posturing for other jobs. I don't know if they sense from Dana Altman that he might have one foot out the door, but look, they owe him $8 million. It's a similar situation to what's going on at Washington State. Oregon does not want to be at the bottom of the Big Ten in basketball. They've been terrible. It's been injuries. Altman is not made for this era of NIL and the portal. It's just not his strength. He wants to teach and coach. So I think if you're Rob Mullins, the AD at Oregon, you have two paths here. You either convince Dana Altman that he wants to go and he's ready and this isn't for him, or you bring him back and you switch the infrastructure around him. You give him a general manager. You tell him, you're gonna remove an assistant or two, and you're gonna give him some new assistants. But we are at a critical pivot point for Altman. You got to watch him in the next week. I mean, there's something happening here with Altman with a decision on his plate, and I have felt for a while that it is Altman's decision. I don't think that they will shove him unceremoniously out the door like Wayne Tinkle got at Oregon State. I think they'll kind of either convince him that it's his decision to go, or they'll bring him back and they'll switch the structure around him.
Do you know what he makes annually?
They owe him $8 million. It's 2 years remaining, so he's at like 4 with bonuses and all that. So it's $8 million to say goodbye to him.
Okay, two guys. Would this be finally the time that Mark Few would leave Gonzaga?
No, don't see it.
Okay.
I just think they've given him everything that he possibly could need and want. I do know that, when they hired Altman, Few was in that conversation, but that was a lifetime ago. Gonzaga's coming into this new world. Few was instrumental in getting him into the Pac-12. They're going to have inherent advantages in the Pac-12, just like they had in the WCC. They don't have to deal with St. Mary's right in the Pac-12, at least for now, unless that shifts. And they're going to have more revenue to share and bigger platform and be on regular TV. I think Few's job now is to get this to the next coach at Gonzaga. And he talked about that on my visit to Gonzaga. Chris Standiford, the AD there, said, hey, Gonzaga is more than just one person. And they were talking about Mark Few.
The guy that I watched last night, kind of got his teeth kicked in at Tucson. We can touch on Arizona because that team is just an absolute juggernaut. What Tommy Lloyd's been able to do. TJ Otzelberger, he makes $4 million a year at Iowa State. I don't know what Ames is like. I'm sure it's lovely, and Iowa State's been a very good basketball program. But if I were Oregon, that's the guy I would target. I would go hard after him. Yeah, Oregon.
I think anytime Oregon goes to make a hire, they swing big. And even Dan Lanning was, if he doesn't end up at Oregon, he was going to get a big job somewhere. He had the reputation of being the recruiter. But I almost think if you look at these schools, they tend to duplicate what they have success in. And so, they'll either go after somebody who's just a fantastic recruiter and they'll do what they've done with Lanning and say, hey, we can surround you with some coaches that can coach these guys. You go get the talent, because that's the name of the game in this era. But I am being told at Oregon that 95% of the attention, energy, and resources on that athletic department go into football. And at 95%, not 80, not 85, 75, like you hear at some other schools, 80 cents on the dollar. It's 95% into football. And so I do talk to those other coaches. I ran into Mark Wasikowski, the baseball coach in the airport the other day. And, he's flying back from Vegas and he's flying commercial. He's trying to raise money for his own scholarships. Kelly Graves, the women's basketball coach, he's been to a Final Four. He's got a really good team this year, a good, competent team, but that's a really good coach. He doesn't have the resources that others have. And so, the rest of those coaches on that campus, I think, look over at football and they go, yeah, we get it. We understand. But I think down deep, you're a football school. You're not a basketball school at Oregon.
At some point, 30, 40, 50 years from now, they'll look back. They're going to realize that socialism is good for sports, and especially college sports. But whatever, we can tackle that at a different time. But this is what you and I were talking earlier about this. Like, at what you hear a lot of these ADs and presidents are starting to come out.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of throwing their hands up. They don't know what to do. And I think fans are like this as well. At what point does the government, if they can, step in and try to help and regulate? And what can they do? A lot of times you don't want them to step in and get in the business like this, but are we reaching a point where they have to?
Yeah, there are a few things going on. I mean, they're getting more vocal. The presidents who are normally not visionary risk takers, they don't stick their necks out. You don't become promoted from a provost or a dean to a president by taking risks. You do that by building consensus. And so what happens is we often get these presidents who are ineffective. They're in a room looking around going, well, what do you think? What do you think? Like, they're not visionary. They're not leaders, but they're starting to talk out. Louisville's president, AD, and their trustee, their chief trustee, wrote a open letter today, which they said they're bleeding cash. They are bleeding. They have a deficit of $12.5 million. Ohio State has a $37.7 million deficit in the last fiscal year. Penn State, it owes more money than anybody. They have more than $500 million in debt in the athletic department.
Wow.
Everybody's in trouble. Even the haves are in trouble. So this presidential commission has gotten a lot of attention, but I'm hearing from a lot of Pac-12 presidents who are saying, hey, wait a minute. Like, it's not like we're trying to take from the Big Ten or the SEC. We are fighting for, like, hey, this is an important economic thing in our community, this athletic department, and we need help. And they're calling, the Louisville president called for, a spending cap. All right. Institute a spending cap. Have all the media rights money pooled by the conferences, negotiate as one. And he even said, hey, we're not trying to take, like, the SEC and Big Ten can take more, but let's negotiate as one entity so we can make some decisions, because the chaos right now is benefiting some, Oregon, more than others, because if you can spend and act like an outlier, you can really be successful. But the real threat is to, like, the communities in Boise and Fort Collins, Colorado, and Pullman, Washington, and Corvallis, and there's Fresno. These universities and these athletic departments are vital to those communities from an economic standpoint, from a civic standpoint. The university, Louisville's president said that the branding and marketing that athletics brings to the University of Louisville is worth $700 million a year. But they are, charging students $200 per student in fees. They had reserves of $34 million a few years ago. It's down to $3 million. They are about to go under. All of this is about to go under. So they're all calling now for congressional intervention. I think it will happen, but I don't think it should be the SEC and the Big Ten making all the decisions. They're terrible because they want to run away with it all. And right. I think somebody needs to be thinking about what the rest of college athletics, what happens in Pullman and Fresno and Fort Collins matters.
If we do get government intervention here, do we have some wise person that sits there in Washington, D.C. and go, listen, let's reconfigure these conferences and where we're at and get back to where it used to be? Or no? Yeah. Is that completely
I think that's a natural byproduct of this, is that they go, hey, here's the group of schools that play on the upper tier. And if you want to be on that upper tier, here are the thresholds for spending. It's self-selection. It should be, hey, do you want to spend at this level? Hey, you can be part of it. But also, by the way, there's going to be some caps on what you can spend so that it doesn't get so out of whack. And how about this thing? How about schools like Tulane, James Madison, and Boise State, who have played the game right? They played it at the highest level. And what happens? They get to the playoff. They have no real shot to win in the playoff. They bump their head against the ceiling. And then what happens? Boise State gets a bye. What do? They change the rules next year. No. We don't like that. We don't want byes for the highest ranked conference champions. Never mind. We're going to change that. What happens when JMU and Tulane get in? Oh, no. We got to change the rule. We can't have two of these schools in. So we'll just have the highest ranked, group of five team. Like, they will always skew and stack the deck against the non-power 4 conference teams. There's something about that that's wrong. And it's not coming at the expense of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and the schools there. It's just coming because they can. Like, look at the gap that we have created in college athletics because we're funding these conferences at a higher level. Oh, look at the gap. And then they point at the gap and go, well, there's the justification for our rule change. I mean, it's just such a fulfilling prophecy that it's ridiculous. And I think, yes, Puck, short answer, yes, it should be a group of like 64 or 80 schools at the top. If you can If you want to spend at this level, you can participate in it. And guess what? We're going to bargain collectively, negotiate our media rights collectively. The big brands should get more of a share. If you get more viewership, you should get more money. But there are some schools in these power conferences that are benefiting from being in a power conference just because historically they were in a power conference. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, I just, I think we've all kind of echoed this thing over and over again. It's just absolutely ruined all of it. And now, again, someone's going to say and hear that and go, well, that's not true. Look at the TV ratings. I mean, I can't argue against that. Are people watching college football more than they ever did? Yes. When we get to March Madness here in a couple of weeks, will the ratings be through the roof? Yeah, but I always think the ratings are always through the roof, and gambling plays a part into it, but also because it's the only thing kind of on. I mean, it's like a holiday that Thursday and Friday. But even as a guy like you and others out there, a huge college basketball fan, like I'm even watching. I've watched Arizona a handful of times this year. I'm watching it. I don't know all these players because they're all just. They're in and out year after year.
Mercenaries.
And I think of, let's just use the two schools in our state. First for Washington State. They got a terrific young player in ace class. He's gone next year. He's not going to play for them. And there's a chance that he probably plays for multiple schools in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be back. I want to be able to watch ace class for the next 4 years in Pullman, like it used to be. And then for Washington, they've got, and I'm going to butcher the Steinbach, the German kid, who, again, maybe wouldn't come back to college because he could go to the NBA. He's going to be a top pick. But again, you would have, as a Washington fan, to watch him for the next few years and grow and get better. And what's coming back. You don't know any of these players that are coming back. I can't tell you who's on the roster from year to year. It's agonizing, and it's just not. It's not as much fun as it used to be. And I just wish we could hit the reset button on this and go back, because I feel that people don't realize how good we used to have it. We allowed money to ruin it.
I also think, Puck, that it's a dangerous thing to gauge the health of a sport by looking at the biggest games of the year and pointing to the ratings. The health of the NFL should not be dictated by the ratings number for the Super Bowl. The health of the NFL has to be dictated by how is the team in Tennessee doing? What's the attendance figure in the AFC West? What are the viewership numbers like market to market? Is this league healthy on a week 4 Sunday? And college football, what drives interest in ratings is a competitive marketplace. And what is turning people off, and you're kind of hitting around the edges of it with, you want the nostalgia of the players back. But if you don't have a competitive field, you don't have local interest. And if you don't have local interest, you don't have viewership, you don't have gift giving, you don't have attendance at the stadium. The health of college football cannot be measured by the CFP semifinal ratings. They should be measured by, hey, what is the ratings number for the Washington State, Colorado State game on a Saturday in week 5? Is that number way down from where it was, years ago? And by the way, if it's way down, how does that benefit the Big Ten and the SEC? And so I think if I'm the Big Ten and the SEC, you want yours. You need to protect your conference and your brand. You want more than others. Fine. But don't do it at the expense of the rest of college football. And that's what's going down right now.
Yeah, we could solve it. We could just, again, I'd like to snap my finger like is that Thanos and just change it all.
I think you're going to see intervention. I think that Congress will step in, and I think they will say, hey, you got to collectively bargain. The question is, where do they draw the line? Yeah, they did not invite Teresa Gold and Gloria Nevarez into that presidential panel, right? That's problematic.
Well, that was I'm telling you, I still like the sport, and I like the way that Arizona plays. And Tommy Lloyd's just got himself a hell of a basketball team. He just does. He got a good mix of guys that have been in the program. He's got young players. You sprinkle in a couple of transfers, but he's a hell of a basketball coach. And that is just one of the, and I guess that's part of it that I get sentimental about, because I miss that trip. Yeah. Because that is one of the Tucson, and the way they view basketball there and the way they come out And if you watch that game on Monday night, it's unlike any. I mean, there's very few atmospheres in college sports like what you see in Tucson. It's just great.
Yeah, it's good for the sport. And look, that Big 12 basketball lineup is battle tested. They're going to be tough to beat as a conference in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and here's the thing too and we'll just finish this. We'll come full circle. I mean, this new Pac-12 basketball conference to me will be much better than the football.
Yes.
Like there's no doubt about that. I mean, that thing is, and again, not going to have as much revenue and TV and all that. But from a pure competitive standpoint, those schools in that new conference, they're going to be unbelievable.
It's going to be sneaky good to see who invests there and what it means. Gonzaga, San Diego State, Utah State, they're all talking about wanting to matter. But I won't be surprised when the NCAA tournament rolls around a year from now and we're talking about, hey, they got 4 teams in. Sure. Or they have 4 teams plus another on the bubble. Who wins the conference tournament could, is this a 5-bid league? That I think they could end up as, regularly being viewed as the 4th best basketball league in the country and have teams playing in the Elite 8 and Final Four and winning a national championship.
All right. You're always working on something. You've always got something on the back iron ready to go. So what's coming down the chute? Well,
right now, I spoke with Boise State's interim president today, and he is joining the chorus of presidents who are saying, hey, we need Congress on this. We need help. We don't have the answers. And so I think it's interesting that kind of messaging is coming out, writing a little bit about that. I'm heading to Vegas for the WCC tournament. I'll be there to kind of see what's going on in Vegas. I'll take you with me there, but you know where to find me.
You're the best. Great work as always. JohnCanzano.com, and go visit the YouTube page. Go check out the Wayne Tinkle interview. John Canzano on YouTube. We'll see you next week, John.
Thanks, buddy.
There he is. Again, John Canzano. Again, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. He joins us every single Tuesday talking all things college athletics and all sports, and just kind of where we're at right now with the football and basketball. Again, there's a certain, I guess, fatigue that I have with it. Obviously, none of the schools that we grew up with in the same conference anymore. That has obviously something to do with it. And that probably is the biggest thing. If we still had all of the financial things that we're dealing with now, NIL, but yet everybody was still in their same conference, you could certainly stomach that more. But this was the whole be careful what you wish for everybody that wanted this. Hey, we got to pay everyone. These guys got to get paid. We are taking advantage of these athletes. But what has transpired here is not what I think everyone thought when they came up with this name, image, and likeness. Name, image, and likeness started with because Ed O'Bannon in the video game and not being paid for their likeness. And I think we all agree if you're going to use someone's name, or you're going to use Damon Williams, you're going to use Ace Glass, you're going to use their name and use their image, they should receive some money from that. But that's not what it's turned into. And we all know that it's just turned into, we are legally paying players now under the table. And I guess it's over the table now. But it's the same concept. The fact that all these schools don't share what they're paying just tells you there's something dirty going on. It's a dirty little secret that they don't want to promote. The Seattle Times, maybe you've seen it, just did a story a couple of weeks ago about a 6-month investigation that they've been trying to find out from the University of Washington in public records of what are they spending. They're not going to share that, nor is Washington State, nor is Oregon, nor is Oregon State. None of these schools are going to share that because they don't want people to know. But that kind of goes against the whole idea of if they want to be treated like adults and professionals and all that. I know what the head coach makes. I know in professional sports, which I always think is a little weird, but whatever. I know what these guys make. But yet we have a group in this sport that wants to be treated like that, puffs their chest out all the time wanting to be treated fairly. But when it comes to, all right, well, then let's regulate it like it is a professional sport. We don't have that. There's no cap. There is no transparency of what they're making. There's no rules and regulations. Contracts are kind of just thrown away. There's ongoing 24/7, 365 free agency going on. And it is ruined the best of what college athletics, should be. And the best of college athletics is watching a team, and you see it in the professional ranks too, because they have contracts. They have to stay there for 3, 4, 5 years. In college, you would see it all the time. You'd see this class come in as freshmen, and there would always be some type of attrition. Guys would come and go. Transfer, you'd always get a transfer every now and again. But, back in that day, you'd transfer, you'd have to sit out a year. But there's not that anymore. It's hard to keep up. When next year, when you start focusing in on your favorite football team, I'll look at the roster and I don't know any of these guys. Or, at least there's a little bit of some more continuity this year with Washington State. They didn't lose as many guys as that you thought they were going to lose. But it's just different. It's hard to get, at least from my perspective, maybe you're different, hard to get excited about it as much anymore as I think I once did. Still certainly love it, still certainly check in on it, but the passion isn't as much anymore. Back in the day, because we're in college basketball season, I could sit there and read you off the 10, 15 best players in college basketball. I couldn't do that now. I couldn't do that. I have no idea. Zero clue. And it's just part of it is that guys are moving left and right. Guys that you thought were out of eligibility are still playing. Like I remember earlier this year, I tuned into a Purdue game, and I'm like, that's Oscar Clough. What the hell happened to him? Where's he at? He went to Purdue. And, there's a guy that should be at Washington State. Ruben Chinyelu, if you ever watched Florida play, what number is he, 6 or 8? That big dude? Yeah, he started at Washington State. I mean, you had coaches who find these players, and he's a great example of it. He was a very raw basketball player when they got him as a freshman, and now, physically, he's enormous now, and from a skill-wise, he's leaps and bounds better than he was when he's a freshman. Imagine watching him play right now on your basketball team. And I'm sure every school that you root for, you could say that about all those guys. So I don't know. I hope whether it's the government or somebody steps in at some point and can regulate this and get this back to normal would be great. I just think for the sport, and I think for the fans, because to me, it's the fans make this sport in college athletics what they are. All right, moving on to baseball before we talk to Danny Kelly from The Ringer. Yesterday, we had Adam Jude on the program, Seattle Times. He did a story. He caught a bullpen for Andres Munoz. If you haven't seen the story, go to seattletimes.com, read the story, watch the video. It's great. We chatted yesterday a lot about that experience of him catching Andres Munoz, and was he sore? What was it like to see a 100-mile-an-hour fastball? What was it like to see a slider snapping right before it hit his glove? We also talked just about the pitching staff and 2 young phenoms that when you watch all these videos coming out of spring training lately, you can't take your eyes off 2 guys. One being left-hander Cade Anderson out of LSU, and this other big right-hander, Ryan Sloan, who just is a mountain of a man, who they drafted a couple years ago straight out of high school. And Adam loves watching pitching. We do. I can't get enough of these videos that have come out. But Adam Jude just gushed yesterday about what he has seen so far from Ryan Sloan.
Sloan, I think his ceiling, I have no issue saying this, his ceiling is higher than Cade Anderson and might be considerably higher. Again, his floor is probably lower too, just because you never know, 20-year-old right-handed pitcher, but he's 6'5", 230 pounds. He looks like Garrett Cole. He throws like Garrett Cole. And then when I asked him, I said, well, what's your favorite pitch? You've got a lot of them here. And he just introduced a 2-seamer too. That's up to 99, 100 miles an hour. He's like, oh, my changeup still. I'm like, who says that? What 20-year-old kid who's 6'5", 230 pounds can throw 100 miles an hour with 2 fastballs? And he says his favorite pitch is a changeup. I was talking to Mitch Garver about it. He had to face him in a live. His first live coming back was Ryan Sloan, and then he caught him a couple of days later, and he's just like, his first thought was like, I don't know what hitters are going to do in the future. This isn't fair.
Again, that entire interview yesterday there with Adam Jude, available up on YouTube, also on all podcast platforms, a part of the Daily Puck Drop. He's the top 100 prospect, is Ryan Sloan. No, he's not going to start the year with the big league club. As Divish told us last week, you're going to see him in Everett. How many starts he has in Everett? Minimal, before they ship him off to Double-A Arkansas. So I would get some Aquasock tickets early on to watch both Sloan and Cade Anderson. He's the 33rd ranked prospect by MLB, 60th if you're going by Baseball America. Again, he's just 20. He was the 50th overall pick or 55th overall pick back in 2024, straight out of high school there in Illinois. He had been committed to Wake Forest. He was their minor league pitcher of the year last season. But when you get someone like Adam Jude's been covering baseball for a long time, and you get the Garrett Cole comparison, and you watch this guy throw, I mean, it's hard not to get excited about what's in store, what's on the horizon. As soon as this year and certainly next year for both Ryan Sloan and Cade Anderson. This is why the decision, we talked about this a few weeks ago. I don't, my money is they're not going to offer Logan Gilbert a deal, an extension. That's not going to happen. And then I think as they get closer with Luis Castillo, they will look to trade him. And the reason for that is because of what they've got coming down, that they look at their roster, they look at their pitchers, they look at their ability to develop these guys, and they have got younger, cheaper options waiting rather than paying someone who's in their 30s a big deal, who had arm issues. And again, it's just, kind of supply and demand in a way, and just in terms of how they want to pay guys at that premium position of pitchers, and in a spot in which they're very, very good at developing. All right. More baseball coming up tomorrow. Inside Pitch there with Ryan Divish. But ladies and gentlemen, he's back from Indianapolis. It's our good buddy, Danny Kelly from The Ringer, who begged to come on today. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Kelly. One more time for Danny.
The air horn effect.
The air horn. We got applause. Record scratching. Yeah, we got everything for you, Danny.
You got like a soundboard going on now.
Yeah, you're a big deal. You're a big, big deal.
I'm excited.
I was thoroughly entertained of watching your latest show with the boys, and then also Todd McShay and the gentleman that was next to Todd. Who was that guy?
Steve Mensch.
Yeah, very good show. I like how you guys all were squished together on one couch.
Yeah, that was a love seat right there.
Jesus, man. But Danny's here, back from the Combine, The Ringer, fantasy football show, The Ringer, NFL draft show, everything there at The Ringer. Catch him on Netflix and all podcast platforms, including Spotify. And I was saying this, promoted earlier, he has got the best. I mean, your website at The Ringer, talking all things NFL draft, your big board, your mock draft, beautiful.
Thank you.
The fact that you put that together is amazing.
I do all the coding on the back end. Yeah.
Yeah.
I built that from scratch. No, I didn't do that. But yes, the Ringer NFL draft guide, it's renowned, if you will, for the user experience, the UI or whatever it's called, the user interactivity. What does UI stand for? User interface? Maybe.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's super clean, easy to use on mobile. It looks great, smooth, quick.
It's just beautiful.
Also, the information in there,
for
me, is incredible.
It's what it's what I expect from you and the folks at The Ringer, especially now that you're on Netflix.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Infusing that Netflix money in there. Yeah.
What was your takeaway? And everyone always asks, what's your biggest takeaway from the Combine? But what stood out to you?
Well, I think I saw this. If you took the average of I think it was like 5 or 6 different position groups. It was defensive backs, linebackers, wide receivers, offensive linemen. There might have been one more in there, defensive linemen. It was the fastest average 40 time of any year since they've been keeping track of this.
Wow. Yeah.
So everybody's really fast.
Yeah.
However, that is a little bit misleading because nowadays and the participation in combine drills is down significantly year over year. going back, to the early days of the combine. People are much more likely to skip the combine if they know they're going to be slow in terms of the testing portion. So these guys make up, I got a little hamstring pull. I don't want to run. So it basically, you get sort of a bias on who ends up running. It's going to be the faster guys, the guys that know they're going to do well. So fastest combine ever, but there's probably a few reasons for that.
Well, my son was the guy who alerted me to this. Who was the big offensive lineman that like 6'8", 300 something? Somebody that was huge.
Caden Proctor, potentially.
And did he run like a 5-something 40?
Good question. There was Monroe Freeling is one guy who kind of put on a show at the combine in terms of the offensive line. He's 6'7", 315. He ran under a 5 flat in terms of
that 40. I think that was the guy.
That was very impressive. Caden Proctor, 6'7", 352. He ran it in a 5.21. So that's not terrible for a big guy like that.
Terrible, Danny. That's unbelievable for the man that size.
Yeah. So he's very
incredible.
He also jumped 32 inches, 9'1" broad. I mean, this is a 350-pound guy. So that's pretty impressive.
When are we going to get to? I mean, how many years do you think we are away? And first, before I ask you this, how long you've been covering the combine? How many years have you gone back?
Since like 2012 or 2013.
Okay, so a while.
Yeah.
When do we get to a combine first ever? A guy measures 6'7", 400 pounds and runs a sub-5.
It's coming. I mean, the athletes are better. They're better every year. I feel like the training is more specific and specialized, and so they're getting better at running the 40. Because it is it's an event that takes a certain skill. There is a technique to running the 40 that you have to have. And so these guys train at it. They're also doing this thing where a lot of guys are like running the 40, but then not doing anything else. And so they can kind of specialize more. Some of the like 3-cone and short shuttle, those things, people aren't doing that as much anymore. So yeah, it's going to happen. I think there was a guy last year that was almost 400 pounds. He did not get close to running the 40 under 5, though. I don't think
it's coming, though. Danny Kelly, of course, with us, the Ringer NFL Draft Show, fantasy football, Ringer, everything there up at theringer.com. And I'm not lying. His draft guide is the prettiest draft guide in the history of NFL draft guides. Look at this thing. I'm sharing it with everyone. If you're watching the show, if you're just listening to it, go back, go to theringer.com/NFL draft, and it will pop up. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I like when you click on the image,
like
kind
cards.
It shimmy shakes. They're cards. Yeah. It reminds me of one of my favorite game shows back in the day, Card Shark. Higher, lower. You don't remember Card Shark?
I don't remember Card Shark.
Yeah.
No.
It's beautiful. I've been playing around with this all morning long, just looking at all this stuff. I mean, your big board.
Send me a text, just Denzel Boston.
Well, let's start there, because at pick number 32, if I scroll all the way down, this will make Husky fans happy.
Oh, this is the mock draft. Yeah.
This is your mock draft. This is your latest mock draft. You've got Seattle Seahawks. Pick 32, taking Denzel Boston out of the University of Washington. Why?
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, a hell of a wide receiver. He's real good.
I mean, if you look at the way that the Seahawks receiver core is set up, I think Cooper Kupp will be here for one more year. I think Rashid Shaheed actually may end up leaving in free agency. We'll see kind of how much demand he has, whether teams see him as like a true, top tier receiver, or more of just like a specialist, like, punt returner, kick returner plus. So we'll see, but there's a chance that they lose Kupp and Rashid Shaheed in the next year or two. And so it's kind of just restocking the shelves at the receiver position. I think Denzel Boston is a really nice complement, skill set wise, to what JSN does. JSN is kind of a do-it-all receiver, plays all over the field. But Boston is that big bodied guy who can box out, plays above the rim in terms of in the red zone and in the end zone, great hands, good build-up speed to get deep. I think he just fits a lot of what they're doing. And he's also, got the size to be a big factor in the blocking game. So just kind of fits. I don't know if he'll go that late. Like he might not fall to 32. I did this mock a couple weeks ago. I'm going to do another one that I'll be publishing tomorrow. So go check that out. But yeah, Boston, I love Boston. I think he's great. I think he kind of fits the, temperament and style that the Seahawks kind of want at the receiver position.
And as you see, as Danny writes the write-up on Denzel, he's got that dog in him.
He's got that dog
That's
in him.
my favorite is the dog.
He's just he's mossing people is what I'm saying.
He's a great football player. You know what surprised me a little bit from your mock draft, because and kind of I got a little encouraged. I'm like, God, if he's there, could they even move up, or would there be a chance that he would fall? Is the guy that you got at number 27 or 28?
Jeremiah Love.
Love.
See, this is where the combine comes in, and it is
because he's going to shoot up now, right?
He's going to be probably a top 10 pick at this point, top 15 certainly. So that's kind of a pipe dream at that, I think.
Well, you got me excited for a moment. I was thinking, God, could he really go down to 28? So obviously, your next mock draft will change coming out of the combine.
Yep.
I mean, your big board, and for those, I mean, because on the website you have a big board and then your mock draft. I mean, your big board most likely will stay the same or not, because your top 5 players in your latest big board that you did back in February 25th was Mendoza 1, Arvell Reese number 2, Caleb Downs, both guys from Ohio State, then David Bailey, the pass rusher from Texas Tech, and then Reuben Bain, which listening or watching your guys' show, much like me, apparently has T-Rex arms.
Right. Yeah, he has like 31-inch arms, which is well below sort of the standard threshold that I think teams are looking for. There's a big, when you're rushing the passer, you're going up against guys that are like 6'5" with really long arms, and if they're able to kind of out leverage you with their length, that can make things hard as a pass rusher. But you don't really see that really happen on Reuben Bain's tape all that much. So he probably won't move that much. I think to your question, I'm not going to move my top 10 a whole lot. Coming out of the combine, I think, like, if anyone, a guy that's going to rise is Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State, who I already liked his tape a lot. Good, really rangy, instinctive in terms of like flowing to the football and getting there before the blockers get there, and great tackler. But I mean, he put on, like, he was the MN Worry of this draft in the sense that he put on one of the most incredible athletic performances we've seen at the combine ever. He's arguably the most athletic linebacker we've ever seen. So he might move up a touch, just because I think that kind of gives him that elite potential that, maybe a small bump. I'm not going to move anybody significantly based on like their athleticism.
Yeah. What, the headliner obviously in every mock draft, and it's going to happen with Mendoza going 1 to the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Is he that good?
I think he's a good prospect. I don't think he's an elite quarterback prospect, but I do like him quite a bit. I think he's got the size. He has a good arm. He's got very good accuracy. Decision making, I think, has been really solid. There's things you can pick apart with his game in terms of he's not super mobile. He doesn't kind of fit that profile prototype that we see with a lot of these guys coming out, where they can kind of do it all, run around, things like that. He's much more of he's in the who did I comp him to? Joe Flacco. He's kind of in that Joe Flacco, Jared Goff mold, where he's much more of a pocket passer. So I don't know if he has the elite upside that you see from some other guys coming out into the draft, but I do think he has franchise starter potential, and I do like him quite a bit. I just don't think he's, relatively, he's not an elite prospect.
I do like, I'm going to share it again with the write-up of him. Flacco on the field, Russ on the mic. He does have Russell Wilson in him on the mic.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if it's an act or if he's really like that. We later found out with Russell that it was an act.
I think Fernando, the big difference is he's very genuine. He is so genuine.
But here's the thing.
He's so polished, though. That's the thing. That's why I comped him to that. It's like he how the old stories of Russell Wilson's dad, like, quizzing him on press conferences when he was like 10 years old or something like that. Mendoza kind of has that feel where he's super polished when he's interviewing. He looks directly into the camera. He's like looking.
That's
into
the thing
your
I don't like, when he looks directly in the camera. Like Nick Saban used to do that all the time on the field interviews.
Unnerving.
And he'd look right. Yeah, it just, I'm like, why? Stop looking at me. Just look at the person asking you questions.
Yeah. Maybe that's something he could get coached up on. But yeah, he's very polished. kind of a goober in the sense he just seems like a dorky guy, but like not derogatory. He's the type of guy who's just like, he loves ball. The only thing he cares about is football. And I'm confident that he'll be a good player. I think obviously anytime you have a number 1 overall pick, you're going to a horrible team almost always. And throughout history, that's a big ask. You know what I mean? To go to a team that needs a guy that's going to lift them out of the cellar. There's a reason. I think I saw this at like the top overall pick if it's a quarterback over the last 20 years. None of them have even been to the Super Bowl with their original team. So it's a really hard thing to do to get these NFL teams out of the gutter.
Do you think there's a chance at all they don't take him?
There's a small chance, maybe. It doesn't feel. It feels like almost everybody that it has like like sources and an ear to the ground or whatever has said like this is happening. The Mendoza thing is it's happening. But I want to say maybe Albert Breer throughout this week. Well,
and then you look who you hired and who's your owner. It kind of fits.
I mean, I think it's a 95% chance they take Mendoza. The 5% off chances they get some crazy Godfather offer, like multiple first-round picks. Sure. Next year's first round is supposed to be really good in terms of the quarterback position, and they can't turn it down type of deal. But I'm guessing right now that they're just kind of moving forward with Mendoza as their guy. They're sort of going to build around him. They have some good skill players. They have a few guys on the offensive line that they kind of like. I think there's some structure there that it makes it so I feel pretty good about him landing there. And like, he's not going to just go and be completely, there's just going to be no talent around him. I don't think that's the case. I mean, he's got Bowers, he's got Michael Mayer, a couple offensive linemen that I think can provide a foundation, and then the coaching, and hopefully the coaching will be really good with Kubiak. I think obviously we were very impressed with what Kubiak did this year. So there's some things happening there that give me some excitement for Mendoza. But again, it is a really hard situation to be that first overall pick, go to a bad team, and have to produce. I don't think it'll be pretty right away, but long term, I do think he'll be a good starter in the league.
And I like what you guys said when you got to a discussion on your latest show. Again, you can watch it Ringer. You can listen to it Spotify. Watch up on Netflix. When you guys had McShay on, was the conversation about Ty Simpson. Here's a guy that started 14? How many games? 14, 15
games, I think, in college.
And you don't see a lot like that. Doesn't happen a lot where those guys start very few games like that, and then that translates to the NFL.
Yeah, there's very few guys that fit that mold. I think Sam Darnold is maybe the best example of a guy who ended up being good in the league after starting only for 1 year and change in college. And guess what? He's on his 5th team, and he's much more of an outlier than sort of the standard. I think this is a thing. I mean, it's very obvious logic, going out there and having reps in game situations is probably the most important thing a quarterback can have coming into the league, because once you get into the league, everything's faster, everything's more complicated. Everybody you're playing is the best player that on their college team. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much harder. And to learn in that situation, you really do have to have the mental reps, the actual physical reps in college to be able to adapt to that. I always kind of think of it like the example that I think of that always kind of makes sense in my mind is I don't golf. I'm not a golfer. And when I go out and I'm playing with my buddies who all golf, and I try and just hit the ball down the fairway, I fucking suck. I can't do it. I'm like hitting it into the woods. Like, it would help if I'm out at the driving range, or at least practicing golf. You know what I mean? So I look at it very similar to these quarterbacks coming into the league. Like, this is like trying to go golf a very difficult course without ever practicing. You know what I mean?
It doesn't help. Practicing, trust me, I golf all the time and I practice. It doesn't help.
Okay, maybe that's not the best example, but that's how I think of it. I'm like, when I'm going out and golfing with my buddies, I'm like, man, if I would have just practiced a little bit, go to the driving range, get a few.
Hey, you know what's good for your golf game? Just go to YouTube and look at all the videos. And
that's not going to complicate things at all. I saw one recently. There was
go hours down the rabbit hole of looking at YouTube coaches.
There was one person that was doing they had like a beach ball on their hip, and they're right up against the wall. Yeah. And they're saying the beach ball is supposed to stay there as you go into your backswing, because you don't want to like move your hips too much. Yeah. Sounds complicated. This is why I don't really golf.
I love going to the driving range and seeing all the toys that people bring out. things wrapping around their elbows, their back, on
Connecting
their
their
head.
elbows together. Yeah.
It's just the aiming sticks, just all of it. I get a kick out of it every time.
Yeah.
Ken Walker's future. We see the report that came out today, as expected. The deadline's 2 hours away, but all reports are they are not going to use the tag on Ken Walker. I think we all thought that was going to be the case, and he will become an unrestricted free agent next week. Obviously, Danny, there's a price tag that they probably are willing to go to, but then not willing to go to with Ken Walker. And what are the chances that gets that market rises so much for him that Walker plays elsewhere, you think?
Unfortunately, I kind of feel like it's gonna happen. Like he'll probably leave. I think, just reading between the lines, kind of what John Schneider has said, reading between the line, or maybe just me projecting onto Walker that he wants to be a foundation back and get all the carries. Like I don't know how motivated he's going to be to come back, considering they kind of put him into a committee with Charbonnet for the vast majority of his contract in Seattle. The winning the Super Bowl thing is kind of the only variable that I think could keep him in town and have him take a quote unquote like lower contract. But the problem is, like, running backs, this is his only opportunity to get a big ticket contract. Very likely this is his one shot to get as much money as possible. Running backs have short careers. He's already had a couple injuries in the league, and that kind of could factor into it. But yeah, this is his shot to get generational money, and he kind of has to take it. So I don't think he's going to take a big discount to come back to Seattle, unfortunately, because I really want him to. But if I'm him, all those variables, I probably am just taking as much money as I possibly can, in addition to the variables where I want to go to a team that's going to feature me and give me goal line carries, let me score touchdowns. Right. Because that's how I'm making my money. Yep. So maybe that's not Seattle, unfortunately, but I really do hope they can come to an agreement. Maybe the demand will be not quite as much as you think. But the problem here, and this is something that we saw with the David Montgomery trade yesterday. David Montgomery, the Texans had to trade 3 pieces to get David Montgomery, a 28-year-old, soon to be 29-year-old running back. And what that told me primarily is the draft sucks at running back. These are not guys. They're not going to have. You're not going to find a starter unless you have a high enough draft pick to get Jeremiah Love. You're probably not going to find a starter in this draft class. So that also makes me more. It makes me think more likely that Kenneth Walker's gone.
All right, tell everyone again. When's the next mock draft coming out up there at the Ringer?
It's Tuesday today. I'm writing it as we speak, so it's going to come out tomorrow, I believe. And you can check that out. We got updates coming to the guide in like every week or two. We got mock drafts. We're going to have team needs section. We kind of just get it all in one place for you. In addition to I think next week is free agency. It's already creeping up on us. So next week is going to be, full bore. We're going to probably have at least two shows next week covering free agency. We have a lot of fun with that. So yeah, there's kind of just the NFL season, even though it's over, it does not slow down at all.
Doesn't slow down.
Probably busier now than I am, Ram.
Probably. You can find it everywhere, right? If I missed something, let me know. Ringer, Spotify.
Look at the Ringer.
Netflix.
There's our big draft guide there. Yeah, we're on Netflix. You can watch us and listen to us on Spotify.
Cover it all. You're a multimedia star. and we are just graced that you can come on this little small show every now and again. And thank you, sir. Thank you for keeping the little people employed.
By the way, your hair's looking glorious today.
Isn't that great? Good looking hair today. Real good. Put some product in it. Really, it looks like I really hit the blow dryer to it pretty hard.
It does. You got like a blowout there.
I did get a blowout. Yeah, it looks real good. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm jealous.
I'm getting a high peak though. I'll be honest with you. It's starting to get a high peak. There.
Well, do you want no peak at all, like me? Stop complaining. Think about who you're talking to.
That's fair. Great stuff, Danny. Thank you, bud.
All right. Thank you.
There he is, Danny Kelly. Follow him on social media, Danny B. Kelly. And again, go visit his draft guide. I'll share it just one more. I mean, his draft guide at the Ringer, ringer.com NFL draft is just sensational. It's got the big board, mock draft, draft grades, all that stuff coming up. I just love the way that the site looks. And it's just you can hover between different positions and everything. And it's just It's a heck of a website. And he does a great job with it. Great in-depth analysis on all of it. We're just blessed to have two great guys that cover the draft that come on this show, right? Danny, who does a tremendous job, and then Rob at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. And we'll be leaning on those guys as we get closer to the NFL draft. I just love playing. The sound, I don't use the soundboard, and I should be using it more. I don't know why. I didn't think I have it working, but yeah. See, now we got the rim shot. That's not the rim shot. That's the air horn. I love the air horn. All right. Let's see. Before we get to on this day, housekeeping items before we wrap up the show on Tuesday. Again, another edition of the Sports Pit with Stretch coming out later. Usually record it right when we're done here. So we'll put that out later this afternoon. In case you missed Canzano coming in late to the live show. Canzano will be up on the Daily Puck Drop on the podcast for Apple, Spotify, and all those platforms. Also a part of the Daily Puck Drop up on YouTube. We also will separate John's appearance there on YouTube there as well. Team USA, speaking of baseball, WBC, they're in action today around, I think it's noon. Cal Raleigh's in the lineups, hitting sixth, starting catcher, obviously. That game's on ESPN. They're taking on the Giants in a scrimmage before they open up pool play on Friday against Brazil. The Mariners are back in action here on a Tuesday. J.P. Crawford's back in the lineup. He's at DH. Mitch Garver is going to be catching for the very first time. Colt Emerson is over there at shortstop. Shout out to the Kraken for what they did on Monday night. Great job by Joey Decord, 35 saves in that game last night. And shout out to the Canadian Ian Furness. I flip on the game, and what a nice little surprise. There's Ian on the call on TV doing a bang-up job. He just sounded wonderful, sounded great. Great victory there for the Kraken, 2-1 there over Columbus, taking out one of the top teams there in the Eastern, well, the top team in the Eastern Conference. They now jumped over Edmonton, third place, 22 games remaining. They'll be back on the ice tomorrow against St. Louis. We'll bring this up with Stretch, probably in the sports bit. Hey, shout out to British Columbia. You did what's right. They're going to go back, when daylight savings times hits this Sunday, by the way, at 2 a.m., they're going to do the right thing and just freaking leave it and not change it. Just leave it the whole time, call it just Pacific time. Why can't we do it? Can we just jump on board, please, and stop screwing around and moving it all around? Great job, British Columbia. All right. Let's get to on this day, March 3rd. On this day, of course, brought to you by Hive Social. It's the official social meetup app of our Hive Social. If you download it today, Hive Social for iOS and Google Play. That's HYV Social, by the way. You can find a Puck's Posse group there when you could sign up. When you can join a group. You can join the Puck's Posse group. So jump on there, Hive Social, the official social meetup app there for Puck Sports. Again, I describe it's kind of like LinkedIn and Meet Snapchat. No ads. There's a free version. So you're going to be hit with a bunch of commercials and a bunch of ads and stuff on it. But Hive Social brings you on this day, March 3rd. 1993, the king of all media, Howard Stern. His radio show premiered in Boston at WBCN 104.1 FM. He would leave Boston and he would go a couple of years later to New York City, where he would be forever. He continued that radio show until 2005. Since 2006, his show has been broadcast on Sirius XM. A 72-year-old said that he started love for radio. This is what he wanted to do when he was 5 years old and still going strong. He's 72. How much money do you think Howard Stern has made in his life? At what point do you just say, it's enough? I'm 72. Maybe just kick my feet up and go to a beach and relax a little bit and be retired. I mean, I get it. It's not really a job. You're doing radio and you're entertaining folks. I get it. Trust me. I know this isn't a job. But at some point, I mean, it's still kind of work. Don't you just want to be done? Happy birthday. Yeah. We wouldn't be able to call each other on this little cell phone device if it weren't for this guy, Alexander Graham Bell, born on this day. And if he were still alive, that would be a miracle. because we would be celebrating his 179th birthday today. Of course, he patented the telephone in 1876, ladies and gentlemen, at the ripe old age of 29. He then later co-founded a small company called the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, AT&T. He passed away in 1922 at the age of 75. Thank you, Alexander Graham Bell, born on this day, March 3rd. Again, that's On This Day, brought to you by the one and only Hive Social. Download the Puck Sports official social meetup app on iOS and also Google Play. All right. Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Tersuli Construction. From emergency response to full-scale rebuilds and remodels, Tersuli Construction is a full-service contractor handling your project from start to finish. Locally owned and operated out of Ballard, proudly serving the Puget Sound area for over 15 years. If you're dealing with damage or planning what's next, call the team that does it all. Tersuli Construction, restoring what matters, building what's next. Give them a call, 206-793-3744. Visit them at tersuli.com. This is nothing groundbreaking on Hey, What the Puck. It's just an annoyance with me because we never can get it right. And I put this out on social media yesterday. Go check out the Team USA uniforms for the WBC. Why can't we ever get these right? Why they look awful. They look like cartoonish bad. They're loud and just obnoxious and just, is there any way we could put somebody better in charge of these uniforms? Who's the guy or the gal that did the hockey ones? Those look good. The baseball, awful. And they've always been awful. Like, they're just hideous to look at. It's like a really, really bad USFL looking uniform. And then it's like the same group that does the Ryder Cup outfits every year. Those are awful. Can we just find someone, for the love of God and country, that can just make our uniforms look better? Is that me? I'm a uniform, old man, and I like a good uniform. By the way, WBC, there's the 3 best uniforms right now. Go check out Nicaragua, unbelievable. The hat's great. Israel is phenomenal. The hat is great. Kind of looks like an old school Mariners hat, by the way. And then Italy. We got to do better. Just hire someone that can design a better uniform. All right. That's Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Tersuli Construction. Give them a call, 206-793-3744. Visit them, tersuli.com. Thanks for watching and listening to today's show. As always, either you're listening live, watching live, or watching or listening later. Thank you. Big thanks to our sponsors, Limbeck Lumber, Flat Stick Pub, Georgetown Brewery, Hive Social, and Tersuli Construction. Today's Daily Punch up on YouTube after the show. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. You may be watching but not a subscriber. Nothing's going to hurt when you just hit that subscribe button. Also, find the Daily Punch Up on your favorite podcast platforms, Apple and Spotify. And, of course, everything up at pucksports.com. There you can sign up to become a member of the Pucks Posse. $5 a month. You support all the free content we do. In addition, we give you bonus shows throughout the week, like the Sports Pit with Matt Stretch Johnson coming out later today, Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish, KJ Arntz with Mitch Levy every Thursday. And be sure to check out the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast, now produced by Puck Sports. New episodes every Monday on YouTube, all podcast platforms. Just search Graz with Gas Take 5. Go watch it and listen to it. It was a great one yesterday. And there's a real good beginning of the show yesterday with Graz and Gas. And Gas is going to be the MC of a Parkinson event that Graz, they're going to honor. Dave Grosby, of course, has been battling with Parkinson. And it's just really, really good. The whole show's always good. But the moment in the beginning is just really cool with those two guys, and just echo everything that Gas said about Graz in the opening parts of Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast. Go check it out, please. All right, that's it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday's show. Fingers crossed the go-to guy there is back. Hopefully Mrs. Go-To is doing much better. Also, we'll talk to Ryan Divish. We'll give you a little snippet of Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish coming up on tomorrow's program. We will see you tomorrow. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we'll try. It never happens, though. We promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to the I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first. What do you need my address for? We like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!